Today we are delighted to have Mr. Vedant Mehra join us today. Vedant is an exceptional figure in the world of bartending with accolades that resonates globally. Vedant's journey has seen him work in multiple cities, contribute to some of the country's finest bars, and travel extensively to explore global cocktail and bar culture. In his current role as the brand community manager at Nao Spirits and Beverages, Vedant brings his considerable experience and unique insights to enrich the brand. So today he will be addressing the topic of the road less taken, that is the alternate career options that we don't talk about much. So let's extend a warm welcome to Mr. Vedant. Hi, how are you?
Good, very good. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk about something I've been doing for the past 10 years. So it should be fun. Thank you guys for coming in on a Saturday evening. An exciting day, I think, for our industry is Saturday is one of the most important days for, anything to do with alcohol or anything to do with hospitality in general. So I think it's a good topic to talk in the evening. Maybe for some of you all, get you excited about the night as well. But predominantly, what I'm going to speak about first about me a little bit is like really very nicely put together. Yes, I am a bartender by profession. That is my career. If somebody asks me what do you do, I I say bartender first because it also raises a lot of eyebrows and also gets people excited. It is a conversation starter. If I say brand community manager, it's okay, right? They might have some different questions. They might talk to me differently. But the minute I say bartender, people automatically get comfortable or they get relaxed if they don't have any big taboo around alcohol. So which is great, right? So it's a much more. I hold that term of bartender more with a lot more pride than I do say brand community manager, because predominantly even at my role, what I do is I do bartend possibly once a week at least for my company. Earlier, I would bartend every night. So it's been a long, fun journey, and I think now is finally when I can see the fruits of the labor coming to life. Earlier, being a bartender, like you all must know, is not the most exciting job. It's not the most rewarding job. But today, like representing a couple of brands, so brand community manager is just a way of saying brand ambassador as well. So I do represent two brands as a brand ambassador. So one is Greater Than. I hope you all have heard of it. If you've not, I need to do a better job. And the second is Hapusha, which is another premium gin. So we have two gins currently in our company, and we're working on bringing more products. But yeah, so coming back to the career option route, I'll just talk about a bit about my journey first, so that it gives you perspective that first of all, why should you even care what I have to say? Because I would be thinking that if I was between 18 and 21, like ये कौन है, like इसने क्या उखाड़ा है type. But I mean, I don't think I've achieved enough, like a lot, but I've achieved a little bit that I can, at least talk about the career part of it. Like, how do you even choose something as wacky, as unheard of as bartending? And I'm sure some of you might have some, very weird kind of professions for the world. For you, it makes a lot of sense. But like, say you want to be a hairstylist, or you want to be a painter, you want to be whatever it is, right? You want to be a poet, you want to be an AI designer, you want to be a gaming engineer. There's a bunch of things happening right now. I don't think we can ever understand the amount of career opportunities currently available in India itself, even with all our social pressures and all of that. So I think it's a great topic that Swapnil has helped me choose, and I'm glad that I can speak on it because I think bartending is the most like whacked out kind of profession that you can take seriously between 18 and 21, especially if you're in a good college, if you're doing a good course, you have like options available and you're like, no, meko daru pilana hai, or, I want to get behind the bar, I want to work with alcohol. Um, Abroad, it might be a bit easier because it is considered, that, you can do a part-time bartending job when you're studying, during a college because it pays well and stuff. In India, absolutely unheard of. So yeah, that's how for me as well. That was my way of getting in to bartending, was giving this goalie to my family, saying I'll do it when I'm doing my MBA, or I'll do it when I'm studying in college. So that's how I kind of convinced them initially. But just to like give you some perspective on how you can, even take the first step. Very important how to take the first step is you have to make decisions like this. Yeah. So this is something that you can see if you look at this video. I just play it again. If you didn't catch have to make decisions like this. It's basically this guy who's been shot, right? So he's been shot, and you can see that he obviously has a wound on his chest, and he's still talking very calmly about taking decisions, right? So if I were to say, how do you take decisions? First of all, how do you decide that you want to do something as wacky? Is I would just say keep it simple, right? Keep it super simple. It also spells out KISS, I mean KISS, keep it simple, silly. It's a very popular phrase in the startup world at least. So what I mean by keep it simple is you will never be able to take the right decision. Right? I don't think you will ever be able to take the most perfect decision, especially when you're trying to decide which career you want or which path you want to go down, or do you want to do an MBA, you want to stop studying, you want to get a job, you want to start a business, whatever it is. I don't think you will ever be able to take the right decision, especially in that age when there's so many things happening in your life, right? Uh, your college and your personal life, your maybe you have a romantic life as well, maybe you have a business life already. Because today I see 15-year-olds making $1 million as well. So there's no clear definition. There's so much happening in your life, but how do you even decide, right? So I don't think you can. If you take the right decision off the bat, that's great. I don't think it'll be possible for a lot of people. So you have to just take decisions and try and make them right. So what I mean is you can't take the right decision, but you can take a decision and then work towards making it right. That's what I kind of happened for me, luckily. So I didn't get into bartending straight out of college, right? So I did college in Christ in Bangalore. I did a proper BBA course, like Bachelor of Business Administration. I didn't do hotel management, which is the usual route for a bartender. I didn't do that. I did BBA, but I always was very fascinated with the industry of hospitality, food primarily, not alcohol, obviously, because I was a kid. But I was very, enticed with food. I was very excited about the food world, about how a restaurant works, cafe works. I never really understood it because nobody, openly told me. But I would always be very curious. And I was also very outgoing kind of person. I would always be out, never be in the house, even though I didn't have a lot of money, but I was always out, like trying to see what's happening, trying to figure if I can be a part of something. So always had a very strong inclination towards food. But like most of you will be at that age, didn't have the guts or didn't have the backing to kind of say I want to do a BHM. Uh, which I should have done ideally, but I didn't. Right, so I'd taken commerce and I didn't have the entire 100% commitment. Also, I don't think I myself was convinced that I can make it in the hospitality industry. So, like everyone says, keep your options open. Take the broader view, take the broader course. Uske baad you can do whatever you want. That's the same thing I ended up doing, and it's fine. I mean, if I'd done BHM, probably I wouldn't have been doing what I'm doing now. Probably would have been in a very serious five-star hotel kind of role. I wouldn't be having fun with gin and stuff. So it ended up being right, is what I'm trying to say, right? That point, that decision, if today somebody asks me if there's an 18-year-old or a 17-year-old or a 20-year-old who wants to get into bartending, should he do BHM? I will say yes, which is the right decision. But I didn't do it. I did BBM, which is a Bachelor of Business Management in Bangalore. And I made that decision right by getting into what I wanted after the course. So that's how it can happen for me. And I also was, doing a lot of events management since I was like in the ninth grade. So because of all of you might have noticed this in life that you always want a little bit of extra money, even if your parents give you X amount of money as pocket money. There's always an urge to kind of make more money. I always had that in me to kind of make money. And any of you who's not made their first money yet, right? I know it's easy to say and say like go make some money, but please, even if it's $100, I don't know how you do it. Just make your first 100 rupees on your own, right? It can be through selling something you already have, ideally not, but like if you find a way to sell it for more. Suppose you bought something 500, you sold 1,000. That's how you make money. If you bought something, if you basically take something from your house and go sell it for 300, I'm not talking about that. Don't start selling stuff around. I'm saying try and make even your first 100,000 or 500 rupees, whatever it is. The amount doesn't matter. Make your first money. What that does is what it did for me as well in ninth standard was it just showed me that dude, it's, it's not the end of the world to make money. It's not the hardest thing in the world to make money. You can make money, right? Even if it's $500. So in ninth grade, I got the opportunity. It wasn't an opportunity, honestly. It was just like by chance. There was a birthday party happening next door in my apartment. And the lady who was doing the decor or whatever, this is where I was nine, so probably 10, 15 years back. She was like, struggling to get everything done and she was getting panicky. And I was just playing around on my cycle in the corridor. I'm like, you need some help. So I was always talking to random people, right? I got into trouble as well in life, but I was talking to her randomly. And I said, you need some help. And she's like, yeah, I need to put up these balloons. I need to set this table. Basically, your typical middle class family birthday, right? Samosa hoega, cake hoega. There'll be like soft drinks and there'll be that same balloon thing which everyone puts. Standard operating procedure for birthday parties back in the day. Now I'm sure it's become very advanced. That's what she was doing. So I went approached her and I said, okay, I'll help you, but can you pay me something? And she was just like, okay, how much do you want? I said, I don't know. And she's like, okay, I'll give you $500. At that point, it was a lot of money. But she also realized that she didn't have time. So a lot of things make sense to me now. But at that point, I was like, haha, like, wow. what an idiot, she gave me 500. But today I've also done that multiple times. Right? When you need instant help and you're on a time crunch, you just like you don't you don't really think too logically. So she did that, and I made 500 rupees, and I was just like, man, that was great, right? So I didn't tell anybody about it because I knew I'd got, probably scolded at home because they were my neighbors. Like helping your neighbor is the most common thing. But she wasn't my neighbor. Like there was an event planner, small time. But still, it was at my neighbor's house. So ideally, I shouldn't have taken money for it. But I was, whatever, 14 years old, so I took money. I didn't tell anybody. But that gave me this really cool feeling that, dude, I can make money. And what that did for me, I thought event management is a great way to make money. And because I made 500 rupees in like half an hour of work. So I said, you know what, I'm going to start doing this. So I would literally go and tell a lot of people in my building. I would go to a lot of people in my school, that, dude, I do event management. I do birthday parties. So I saw what she was doing. And they were like, okay, but I'm not going to call you for my birthday party or whatever like that. I don't think I need anybody to do that. Then I started figuring out, talking to, like, older people are always obviously more sensible. So I spoke to my mom, said, I want to do birthday parties for, like, I want to go set up birthday parties. And she's like, okay, I'll tell my friends group. And she's a dentist, so she puts like this small poster outside her thing, uh, saying, like, if you want birthday party decor, call Vedant. And I put my number, like my dad's number. I didn't have a phone, so I put my dad's number just to see if someone calls. And because she's a dentist, and most people who go to dentists are kids because they eat the most nastiest things, and kids love to celebrate birthdays. So they would see that poster and they would tell their parents, "I want this decor or whatever." And people would call my dad, who used to run this cloth. We used to make cloth fabric, a small scale, but he was not the most excited about calls for birthday parties going to him. That's how I got a phone. And I really wanted a phone. But because he got called from, like, not too many, we got like three, four calls saying you want to do birthday party arrangements. I got a phone. Like, he was like, I can't give you this. You please, just take a phone and like do your whatever you're doing. So I got a phone on the pretext of like doing birthday parties. And I actually made money. You won't believe it, right? Because I would do the math. I would buy balloons. I would buy cake. I would buy that table runner. And my total expense would be like, say, 600, 700, depending on the cake. Cake usually also pay, families are very particular, वही baker से चाहिए. So I was just like a Dunzo or a Uber, just going and getting it on my cycle if I could, or taking an auto. But so my other money, I would spend, say, maybe $1,000 on like everything else. And I would tell them, कि decor का 5,000 लगेगा. I'll take 5,000 rupees. And because I was also offering this kind of, that time, there was no Uber, right? If you wanted a cake, you had to physically go and get it. There was no Dunzo, there was no Swiggy, nothing. And I'll also say I'll get the cake too. And I would spend on that. Sometimes I would spend 120, 150 rupees on the travel, on the auto if it was far. Sometimes I would also take the bus. But because of that one pivot, that I would say that, I get the cake also. Like they were so relaxed, they're like, okay, great. Because also carrying it that time, you have to self carry it, you might smudge it. And I would always make sure that I had a box and all that. So I made good amount of money doing birthday parties. So people also, like, almost my age, they were like 600, 600, and like they would always call a number and my phone would ring and that lady would be like, "You are Vedant." I said, "Yeah, you made the poster." I said, "No, my sister made it, but yeah, I'm the guy who's gonna do it." And did a pretty decent. I'm not saying I was the best. I was also sometimes I don't not very good at finish, right? I don't have the most petite hands to kind of finish things really well. If they wanted like gifts, the wrapping and all was not the best. But I did what I could. At that point, we weren't even too exposed to YouTube. So I would literally go to a gift shop and be like, "Yeah, app karke do," like, or teach me, right? Because I want to do it nicely. So the fact that I'm trying to say is, if you make your money initially, I didn't become a wedding planner or I didn't become an event manager for the rest of my life, but I just understood that it's not the hardest thing to make money. And all you need to do is put yourself out there. All you need to do is talk to people. You can't sit. I mean, nowadays you can sit behind a screen also and get a lot of things done in a fantastic way. But that point, it wasn't like that. So, and even online, you have to put yourself out, right? You can't just sit behind the screen and hope for things to come to your way. You have to go and make it happen. So from that, I got the confidence in making money. So when I had to make that big jump to, like, become a bartender after my college, money didn't scare me. Because the pay was obviously nonsense, right? If I had taken a job outside after college, I would have got, say, maybe 25, 30,000 after BBA, which is the standard everyone was getting. Some people were getting a lot more, but average it was about 25 to 30K. And when I applied for a bartending position, they said that you'll pay me 8,000. Because that, I mean, even today, a good bartender, not a decent bartender in a bar in Bangalore must be making, say, 20,000, 25,000 max. So even today, back in the day, 8,000 was also like decent enough. So, but that money never scared me. That fact that, oh, it's only 8,000, how will I survive? It never scared me because I knew that I could make the remaining 25, 30 by taking a couple of days off and doing this because I had a decent amount of database. And I think with birthdays, it comes every year. So last time, if I did a good job, they will call me again. They will call me. Then they call me for their when they get older. Then the parents are like, "Oh, did a good job. Can we call him for like say a small anniversary party? Can we call him for something else, some naming ceremony?" I've done everything, right? Like I've done every possible small scale event at home. Then in the middle, like after college, I didn't again have the guts to do bartending full time. So I joined a proper because of this pay factor. I wanted to do bartending, but they were like, "Dude, for artists, you can't join a bar." And also working in a bar, the hours are ridiculous. So my parents said, "You continue doing your event management. Don't take a job if that's really something you're passionate about, like event management." Because they've seen me make money, right? I bought myself a lot of things, and I also bought them things, and I was like, we can go for a holiday because it was a good amount of money, guys. Like it sounds like small, but you do it every week, it adds up to that, and I don't know expenses rent. I'm not paying rent or anything at that point. So it worked out in a lot of ways, but I had to join this desk job. I got a job from college with Tesco, this company which does like large scale supermarkets. So I joined the job for Tesco, and before my interview, I asked my like the employers very clearly, right, what is going to happen, what is my job exactly, and they said you will be at the store level, you'll be talking to people, you'll be. They did basically told me what I wanted to hear. It'll happen with you as well. What these guys are professionals at understanding what people want to hear, right? What kids want to hear. So they understood that this guy is very keen in talking to people. So we'll tell him that you get to talk to people. When I joined the job, I went into my desk or whatever, and I had to fill in some data on my first day itself. Right, there's no induction, there's nothing like because they hire by like thousands. So literally from Christ, 250 people got hired in one shot, and you land up there and you just get a desk, you get a computer, and you get like this list. It was like you have to like upload some stuff on some software or whatever. There was just type in shit basically, and that was very weird for me. And I started doing it after like 20 minutes. I was like, wait, what's happening? And then I stood up from my chair and I asked my people around me, like, how long have you been here? And one of them is like, oh, I'm also a Christ because he saw like we had to wear our badge the first day because we thought there'll be an induction, but there was no induction. Our college told us to wear our badge. He's like, oh, you're from Christ. I'm also from Christ. I finished 2 years before me, basically. I finished 2015. He finished in 2013. And then I started asking, like, what have you been doing? He's like, this is our job. This is all we do every day. We fill in stuff, we fill in data, we do analysis, and we submit it in the internet, and we go home. And so when do you like go to the floor, talk to people? He's like, there is no Tesco in India. So how are you going to go to the floor? We only do back end for all the global supermarkets. I was like, damn. So we had lunch break and I spoke to a lot of people. Like I I keep talking. Right now also you notice I can go on and on and on. So I went and spoke to a lot of people in the cafeteria saying, what do you do? What do you do? And all the jobs basically there were this computer loading. I still don't know what I was doing, but just loading things. So after lunch break, I just decided I can't do this. And I went to the supervisor and said, I want to quit. I want to go home. And he was like, no, you can't give up. What is this nonsense? You have an induction tomorrow, the next day. I said, it's fine, but this is my job, right? They're like, yeah. I just went home. I took my bag and I went home. I didn't have to resign because it was like 2 hours of work, from 10 to 4 hours of work, whatever. And I went home. I came home and I told my parents, like, I can't do this. I don't know what's happening. And what really triggered me was nobody in that company cares. Hey, nobody even messaged or called or emailed saying, where's this guy? At the end of 2 months, obviously I didn't get salary because that comes on like, your fingerprint or your login or whatever. I didn't get salary, obviously. But after 2 months, I got invited to a company retreat saying, oh, we're going to this resort. You are one of our employees. Please come. And I was so happy that I didn't continue in that job because I was like, dude, if some place where you've not been there for 2 months and nobody's realized, nor anyone has cared, and you're still getting invited to some random event, then like you made a good choice of leaving. So then I had the commitment and the grit to say like, okay, I will do event management full on because I cannot do a job like this. And that time, like, even today, it's very hard to find good jobs which are not like this initially. So if you have the patience to do it for 2 years and then think of growth, which is fine. A lot of people do, and that's fine. You should also if you that's what you want. But I didn't want that. So I got into event management seriously. I started doing weddings as well because we had a decent clientele. We did international weddings. Uh, Money there was fabulous, and that's again where my trigger for bartending came back because you could never find good bartenders in India, right? You could find the best chefs for catering. You could find the best decor. Even today, if you type amazing, bartending for weddings, it's a very shallow list. It's about 2, 3 people who can do it in the entire country. I was like, this is a big gap, and clients are ready to pay. Clients are ready to pay between 3, 4, 5 lakhs also for a wedding, for a big wedding, right? In the entire bartending services. I was like, yeah, I have to do this. So I googled, right, as most of you will do in your life. You'll use Google a lot. Maybe now you use ChatGPT, but you'll use you'll use some random source of information, which is what I did. I googled best bartending course in the world, and what came up was EBS in Las Vegas. I said, okay, I want to go here. I figured out the fees because I was making decent money. I said I can afford it, but I wouldn't get a visa because I was a 20-year-old trying to go to the US with no heavy financial backing, so it's obviously not possible. Then I found a way with my cousin relative something. He sent me a letter. I applied with my mom. I applied for visa with my mom saying we want to go for holiday. It was a 2 month course, so I didn't have to take a long term bartending. I learned bartending from one of the best schools in the world, which now they've moved to Miami. But it was a 2 month course on bartending, heavily deep, intensive course, and that's where it all changed, right? So it took time for me to reach there, but once I did that course, I knew there's no stopping, there's no going back. It was the right decision. All that I did till this time to get me to that course, it all made sense. So, but now that I think of it, it made sense. But at that point, everything I was doing was questioning. Everything was blocking me, saying, "Am I doing the right thing? Am I doing?" So you'll never be able to figure out what's right. I think just take a decision and make it right. It's always worked for me, and hopefully it works for you all as well. And always don't think of what's not available, right? So, like for me, I did like, oh, there's no bartending school in India, so I can't do the course. Oh, I won't get visa. Oh, I won't get this. Like, there's so many things which would not have happened if I had just been like, dude, I have this connection, let me try. I have that connection, let me try. I have this much, let me try. So just start. Like till you don't start, nothing is going to happen. If you want to be a poet, write your first poem. It might be like trash, but write it. Upload it. It's fine if your friends laugh at you, whatever it is, right? Or you go recite it in like a place where your friends are sitting or your family is sitting. Go recite it. Just start because then you'll realize if you really want to do it. Because if you really want to do it, even if people are laughing at you, you'll be like, I'll come back better. Or even if people are trolling, you'll be like, I'll come back better. If you feel like, oh, I'm not good at this at all, I genuinely don't think, if you internally feel that, oh, I can't do this, then you drop it. But if you don't start, you will keep thinking, I want to be a poet, 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 and you never end up being a poet because you always have it at the back of your head. So even when you're doing your job, you'll be like, I want to be a poet. But if you actually start and go and do it, and you realize if you're good, then you get confidence to go and do more. If you realize then you're really bad, and you have to realize it, people will always say you're bad till you get good. But if you genuinely feel you're not even enjoying it, like the process is not fun, then you drop it and then you pick up the next thing. Because then the poet thing will be out of your head. So the next thing has a chance to come. Right? If the glass is already full, you can't put more water, it will go out. So what I'm saying is take a sip, like try it out. All just start. However, most smallest way you can start. I have a friend who recently started, doing this YouTube blogs and stuff, and same age as me. He's been talking about this YouTube blog for the last 5, 6 years. And finally, when this thing came up and I was preparing this deck, I got fed up. I called him. I said, "Dude, you have to upload a video tomorrow. I don't care what it is. I've known you for long enough to command this kind of friendship from you and be a little rude to you. Well, you have to put something. I don't care." And then he started to think, right? I don't have a good camera. I don't have a good mic. I don't have right. So it's easy to say, "Okay, karke dekh lo." But then I spoke to him at length, and he's like, "What if it's not good? I don't want to drop this dream. That will also happen to you. You might not take the first step in the fear that if it's not good, I drop this dream and then I'm just a data entry guy or I'm just whatever, right? A random job. So, but what I told him is if you end up being good at it, it's a better gamble. Right? End of the day, most decisions in life will be a gamble. You never know the outcome. Like flipping a coin, heads or tails, you don't know. But if you take the step, your chances of winning are a lot better. So in terms of basic probability, if you take it, it's a lot makes a lot more sense for you. So and he finally like made this mini vlog and uploaded, and obviously it's really bad, but at least he started. So just start. Like doesn't matter how you do it, just start. And for me, I told you about how and why bartending happened, but I think what you can pick up from this and apply to your career path or your like really crazy ideas you have in terms of a job or a career that you want to do is be spontaneous. Right? I was always very spontaneous, and I think a lot of people who I've seen who have made very good career choices, have made very good career, are very spontaneous. So spontaneous basically means like you want to do something, go do it. Like just finish it off, get it out of your head. Don't keep dwelling on it because that's not good for your future ever. If you think of something, just go and do it. It's called being spontaneous. People might tell you first think, understand, then do. It works for some people. I don't think it works for that generation that we were in, and also your generation. You have to be fast. You have to be spontaneous. If you end up making mistakes, it's fine. That's the only age you can make mistakes. When you're 35, 40, you're making mistakes. The damages can be large scale. When you're below 25, your mistakes can be also pushed away, saying, "Bacha hai, like he's a kid. You figure it out. She's too young." So use that to advantage. Hunger, I think all of you are like very hungry. You've obviously come for sessions like this, so that means you have some drive. Uh, I had a very good mentor for me with bartending. It was a guy who used to own this bar in Bangalore called Bootlegger. The timing of that mentorship was very good for me. So finding that right mentor, it will happen. You can't go and find a mentor. It will happen to you, but you have to identify. So tomorrow, if one of you wants to start, say, becoming a bartender, and you can identify that, dude, I want to be, I think Vedant knows a bit about bartending. Let me make him my mentor. Uh, Try for it. It might happen, might not happen. But nobody come and tell you. I won't come and tell you that, hey, you want to be a bartender? I'll be your mentor. Very rarely it'll happen. So even if you want to be, say, you want to be a painter, and you see a really good painter somewhere in some art show, and you're like, I think I love his style. I want to work under him or her. Just go and approach them. Just go and try. They might completely say, no, I don't have time. It's fine. Somewhere you get the confidence of talking to people at least. You get the confidence of breaking away from your fear of what will they say. Just go and do it. And sometimes the timing is perfect. It happened with me. It happened a lot of other people. It can happen with you. And yeah, like you have to self believe. Obviously, once you get a small amount of success, also just keep going. For me, the biggest thing was when I got into bartending again. When I joined after the course, doing Vegas, everything, coming back to Bangalore, I joined a bar called Bootlegger, which I was saying, and my salary was 24,000. Again, very low for what my friends were making, and what also I was making per month. I had stopped my events because I'd gone abroad, and also I had taken a partner on board, and that partner, she got married, and she was uh, with a baby. So obviously we could. She was much elder than me, but we obviously couldn't work when she was carrying. So we said, we know what, we'll take a break. I also really want to figure out this bartending thing. You want to obviously take care of yourself and your baby, so let's take a break from events. And my salary was 27,000 in Bootlegger. But what really gave me the self belief was there are these competitions online, right? There are a lot of competitions for bartenders, for cocktails, for speed, like bunch of things. In every field in the world, there is some way to compete. I will say go and compete because that's what gave me the belief. Obviously, I lost many times, but I also won a couple of times, and those wins became real milestones. I won this competition with Bacardi. I won this competition with Diageo. These are basically cocktail competitions, right? You have to show who can make the best drinks, who can present the drinks the best. So trained very vigorously for it, trained with the intention to win. Even though people who I was working with at that point said, "You're only 4 months into this work. There's no way you can win. You're only 4 months into this field. There's no way you can make a good drink." I said, "I accept." So I found help. I found mentors. I took help from everyone around me. Openly asked for help. Always in life, people want to help. You have to just ask them. Took help. Obviously, didn't place very well at my first competition, but then I got over the fear of competing. So when any random competition came, I would be the first participant because I was not fearful. I was like, even if I come last, it's fine. I'm only 5 months in. I'm only 6 months in. So if you start early, you get away from that fear. I've also seen other bartenders who've never competed for 3 years saying, no, I'll become perfect, then I'll compete. I'll become perfect, then I'll compete. When you compete after 3 years, your expectations for yourself are so high that even if you have a good chance of winning, the pressure gets to you and you end up losing. So compete as soon as you can. You might come last. They might even say, why the hell did you bother competing? It's fine. You are trying to get over your fear, not trying to win. If you win, fantastic. Uh, but if you don't, get over your fear. So that's how it happened for me uh, with with bartending. Right, I won competitions, and that gave me the proof that I am good. And the whole world shut up after that because people will keep talking unless you show them something like what you've done. Even me in my house, like my elder brother is a cardiac surgeon. Right, he studied his his whole life he studied and finally became a cardiac surgeon. So when you go for family meetings, even when I was working with Bootlegger, when you go for any family gathering, and someone comes and says, "Aapke bete kya karte? Like, what do your sons do?" And my mom very proudly introduces my elder brother and says, "This is Siddhant. He's a cardiac surgeon." And the other person is like, "Okay, what about you, Vedant?" I used to say I'm a bartender. And my mom would just kind of, push me aside and be like, "No, he does events." Because they knew I've got okay amount of success in events. So they were like, he events karta hai. They never openly said I'm a bartender until I won my first competition. My own parents, although they were okay with me working because I mean, they said, okay, you've done this course also now. You just try and do what you can. Uh, and I'd not really asked them for money for whatever I wanted. So they were still okay saying he's doing it on his own. I don't like it, but it's okay. Luckily, they were slightly supportive in that way. But the minute I won my first competition, and it was a big deal because it came in the newspaper and, I got a good prize. That's when my mom started introducing me as a bartender. And she would repost my Facebook things and my Instagram things, and because social media is a big part of our lives because we can't advertise alcohol openly. So she would also like, be like, okay, my son is doing this. The minute you get that, then you can't, then you won't stop, because then what else do you need? Right? You're getting success from your profession. You're getting okay money. Again, I never made good money until I joined brands. Bartending does not pay well. I don't think it'll ever pay well. Well, in the sense, I don't think you'll make amazing money that you can make probably as a software engineer or as a whatever other general profession you take, as a doctor, a lawyer. So, but all of these things were success as well. It's not always about money. Eventually, you have to make a lot of money. I think all of you should have that goal, but you should also have other parameters for success. Like for me, it was these competitions, getting recognition, socially, like finally being accepted as something that is a good profession. And honestly, because of not because of me, but because of a lot of bartenders like me who talking about it openly, a lot of young people from hospitality started getting bartenders. Earlier, it would only be chefs, or it would only be reception. They want to be in the lobby. They want to wear suits and work. But now the demand for bartending courses is amazing, and it's just because of people who are talking about it openly, uh, achieving global success. Like people are winning global competitions. That makes a big difference for the entire country, and that taboo of bartending is breaking. So imagine that's something you can do for your profession. Like you can help other people also break out of their shells and be like, I want to do it because this person has done okay in it, or is doing something well in it. So there is a chance for scope. So it's not just about you and what you can do. After a point, you start thinking about the world and the community also, that more people should do. So that's how bartending happened for me. Why not bartending? You obviously know less money, social pressure, not considered the best job. You work 14, 15 hours a day, always standing, lifting heavy things, dealing with crazy amount of guests who are, some of them are really drunk, some of them are sober. It doesn't matter. It's a very unrewarding job in life, and there's no clear growth, right? If you take a marketing role, you start off as, say, social media intern, then social media executive, then social media manager, then marketing manager, then global marketing. So there's like a clear growth. With bartending, it's like bartender, bar manager, and bus. It ends there. There's nothing that you can look forward to. So that is something which always bothered me, and that's how I kind of used network and open your mind to so many things. I never knew there's a whole world of brands. Right? I knew you get brand, like it's a brand. You go buy a brand and you use it. It's like a shoe. You want a shoe, you go buy a shoe from, say, Adidas, and you buy it. But you never think that who is working in Adidas, right? How can I work? If you're suppose you're say you're a shoe designer, instead of just going and using the product, what if you think like, how can I work with Adidas? Who is in my community which can somehow connect with Adidas? Uh, can I work with them as a collaborator? Something like always think a lot more broader. That's what helped me, because I was like, okay, I'm doing good as a bartender. I've won awards, I've got recognition, but I know my bar cannot pay me more because that's how much the industry slab is. And even if I become a bar manager, it's a dead end, right? After I won't become a bar manager, it's impossible for me to do anything else. Either I have to put my own bar, which is a huge investment in Bangalore at least. It's ridiculous. The licensing itself alone is 2 crores. So that was like quite retarded at that point. Quite, not possible. So I looked at brands. I mean, look at brands, they have so much to offer. They are doing marketing, they're doing advertising, they're doing promotions, everything is happening. That's when I realized that obviously these guys have high, and they were hiring people from MBAs, they were hiring people who've done, like other marketing focused courses. So I said, but they all would come and be very nice to me because I was buying their product. That's when I figured there is a lot of gap here. That what if a bartender joins the corporate side, and the perspective I can bring will be something which will be very interesting for them, because they're trying. End of the day, I'm from the customer. I'm becoming part of the team who's trying to sell to me. So I pitched that to a lot of brands, and that's when I realized that if you don't put yourself out there, if you don't talk about yourself, again, nobody's going to know, nobody's going to care. Uh, and that's how I got into work with brands. So I would do my bartending, but I would also do, say, a training session for a brand. What training? How do you talk about the product? How can you sell this product better? I didn't know. I'm not like I have any data, but I was just like, if I was a bartender, how would I behave? If I was a customer, how would I behave? I would just tell them that, and they found it very insightful. And then I would do like their small office parties also. I would go and make cocktails and stuff. So I got very close with all the liquor brands. Right? Technically, I didn't need to. My job was to get close to the customers, ideally, which I did. But I realized after a point, the customer is only going to pay the bill that's come and probably tip you like 10, 20%. But uske baad, he's not going to like make you his partner or anything, right? Customer, they're different backgrounds. But brands need bartenders. So that's where I found the growth. that's why I continued marketing. Honestly, if I didn't have not found that growth strategy or that growth way, I would have probably left it because it can't be a permanent setup for me to just be a bar manager, right? There are a lot of other ambitions as well, which you also should have. So yeah, how do you go from being like scared and like how my left pitcher to being slightly more happy if you're still working? Is like what I said, put yourself out there. There's a really nice small book called Show Your Work, which I think if you have time, you all should read. It basically talks about whatever work you're doing, you have to keep showing it, right? It doesn't matter. It's not only about posting online. It's also about, just going out there and telling people itself. I was so shy to tell my college friend that I'm a bartender. When I started telling them, I started getting opportunities from them also because all your friends want to help you eventually if they're your friends, if they're not some other way. So show your work. Always show your work, however you can. Whether it's Instagram, it's online website. I don't know them 100 platforms now, but also physically, you have to go out and talk to people and say, "This is what I do." If they ask you, don't go telling random people. But suppose somebody asks you, "What do you do?" I can just stop at saying, "I work with a gym company." That's it, and they'll be like, "Okay." But if I tell them I work with a gym company, it's called Greater Than. I do mainly bartending for them, and it works out. This is what I like 30 seconds, and then you stop. So it always helps because next time somebody says greater than, they'll think of you. They'll think of you and they'll remember you. And there's a lot of ways it works. I can't really explain, but try it for yourself and you'll figure it out. Don't be shy to show your work. Even if you're doing a regular job and you've made a nice presentation and you submitted it, just let your colleagues know that hey, I sent this presentation. I think it looks good. Any feedback from you? Your colleagues, not your manager. The manager will obviously give you feedback, but even your colleagues, even showing your work to your colleagues makes a lot of sense. Always show your work, however you figure out how to show it. Whether you want to write, blog, video, photo, whatever it is, always show your work all across the world to whoever is interested, basically. Um, that works like a charm. It worked for me. It's how I landed up with this job in Greater Than is I would just, I would always think of new ways of drinking gin or drinking whiskey or whatever, just for consumers, right, who are diet conscious because tonic is slightly sugary. So I would just, even if I made a simple drink for a customer at the bar, I would take a picture and just like put it up somewhere or send it on a random WhatsApp group and be like, "Hi, I made this." It sounds very stupid. It's like this guy's want to be annoying spammer. In some way, it works out because again, you're getting rid of your fear of talking, getting rid of your fear of showing your work, talking about yourself. It's not wrong to talk about yourself. Don't boast about yourself, but talk about yourself. I did this. I liked it. What do you think? Don't say I did this. It's the best. Then people are going to be like, he's all about himself. Like even this PPT, I put my photo everywhere. Right? Although you can see me, but I put my photo everywhere. Doesn't mean I'm obsessed with myself. It just kind of register that somewhere if I end up seeing me, you'll be like, हाँ इसको कहीं तो देखा है. Right? I'm trying to imprint something about it is indirect marketing, whatever it is. But I'm being honest, right? You should also do it. It's not just about I'm talking about the session. What am I also maybe in the long run getting back somewhere in life? So as much as you can, please. It's not boasting. It is just talking about yourself. And you should do it. Like think of yourself like a brand. Right? If you were a brand, what does Nike doesn't say I'm okay shoe or I'm an okay shoe, right? Nike will tell you I'm the best shoe in the world. It's for you to figure out if it's the best or it's not. So if you think of yourself like a brand, your conversation will change a lot. And even if you're doing a marketing job for another brand, you yourself are also a brand, right? Your personal branding is always has to be at top of your head. Doesn't matter what job you're doing. You have to have personal branding as one of your possibly your three, four top goals in life is obviously success, money, happiness, but personal brand. Like, what do I want to stand for? What is my brand? What is Vedant's brand? What is Vidhi's brand? Like, what is your brand? Right? You have to figure that out and then talk about it openly. Don't hold back. Don't be shy. And one more thing is know your value, right? So uh, know your value. What I'm trying to say is you have to be irreplaceable at your job, which means suppose today you're a say social media executive or social media manager. Tomorrow, if you get fired, will the company fall apart? Will the company's social media be absolutely all over the place? Will they not be able to recover for 2, 3 days? And then when they hire someone, it will take them 1 month to train them. Then your job is useful. If you are easily replaceable, you will never have leverage. You will never have something. Leverage basically means you will never have something that they need from you. Right? Today, your employee is paying you, say, your company is paying you salary, you are doing work. Tomorrow, they stop paying salary, you stop doing work. But if you go to other companies, what is your leverage? What is your strength or whatever you want to call it? You have to be irreplaceable, right? So that's why I'm saying show your work. If you're doing social media for a brand, that brand is getting its credibility, it's ranking up better. But tomorrow, if you leave, the brand is still there. But you have not done anything to build your brand. You are still there only. Even if you've taken the brand, you have taken the brand till here, but you now they've dropped you. You are still here. So simultaneously, while building a brand, wherever you're working, or even if you're doing your own business, always build your personal brand as well. Because in case your business fails, you still have credibility in the market. You still are looked up for. So always focus on building your personal brand and network with everyone who's relevant in your industry. Right? Always network, talk to people. Networking doesn't mean going for events and saying hi, hello, small talk, and then going and hiding in the corner with the same two people you know. I've been to networking events and I think it's the most craziest thing because everyone's talking to the same people they already know, just giving updates. That is not networking. That you can meet at a coffee shop and talk, have coffee also. Networking is trying to figure out. It sounds very mean, but how can I make use of this person, and how can I be use of this person? Networking is not being nice. Networking is how can I make my work better with this guy, or how can he make his work better with me? That's it. That's networking. What can I get out of him? What can you get out of him? It sounds very rude and matlabi in Hindi, but that's what it is. That is networking. Once you start doing work with it, then it becomes friendship, then it becomes relationship, all that. Initially, it's very transactional. Right? I want this, you want to give this. That's that's pretty much it. But network as much as you can. Network because after taking the path, you need to get something recognition. Otherwise, you'll drop the path. Once you've taken your wacky career option, if you have a wacky, if you have a regular career also, it's fine. The same thing applies. But a regular career, it's easier to kind of just float by because no one's questioning you every day. If you take a wacky career, every day is a question, right? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you not doing? What is happening? So if you're not getting anything in return beyond the money, you will drop it. You will get under pressure and you will be like, I can't do this, and you'll drop it. But if you're constantly building more than just the salaries, more than just that, you are you will be confident enough to say, you know what, it will take time, but I'll do it. So if example, if you're a painter and you sell 5 paintings and you got the money, and you can survive for the next 2 months as well in that. But beyond that, what? Like, are people talking about your paintings? Are you talking about your paintings? So because otherwise, tomorrow your dad or mom or any cousin will come and say, now see, you sold five, now what? Now what? Now what? Now what? And then you will drop it. But if you're not doing so, if you're doing something, you have a project in mind. You're like, no, I'm working on something. If that flops, then I'll think. Then you have one more idea. If that flops, I'll think. You keep building on it. I'm not saying you get success instantly. And people might find you annoying. Keeps talking about work, or she's obsessed with herself, or they'll say all those things. But it's fine. I think people who actually know you will know you for what you are. Everybody else, even if you do the best work, they will talk whatever they want to talk. Like I still get called out from my family saying, "Oh, he's a drunkard." Like even I don't even drink that much. I just make people drink. I serve alcohol. I talk about alcohol a lot. So they've called me the drunkard. Does it affect me? Sometimes yes. I'm not made of steel. It does affect me. I'm not a drunkard. I don't drink every day. Nor do I drink a lot. But it happens. But I know what I'm working on currently is talking about this factor, right? Like, do people who work in alcohol drunkard? I'm working on this. So I'm kind of reinforcing myself saying, like me, there are a lot of people who face this. Can I talk about it? So when you talk about it, you kind of get out of the system. So choosing the path honestly is easy sometimes. Choosing it saying I want to be a poet is fine. But how long can you stick to it will depend on whatever I just spoke about, right? Like how good you actually are and how good you want to be. It might take for me it happened relatively fast, 2, 3 years may I figured out I'm good at this. But even if it takes longer, I think you should uh, if you're having fun, it can take 10 years also and you want nine. Like I've seen people who hit success after 15 years of doing it, who were working with me and now suddenly they've shot to fame because they finally got that break. It can happen anytime. So uh, be very opportunistic, be very transactional initially. Don't feel bad. Oh, he'll feel bad. She'll feel bad. It's completely fine. Yeah. So that's what I want to say. Um, thank you. That's my spiel, the entire spiel. I think there's some questions on this.
Yeah, so that was an amazing presentation, and we got to learn a lot about this career that is very less talked about. So it was a very fresh perspective for our audience also. Talking about audience, we have two questions for you.
Yeah, I can see it here. Sunil, as someone with global experience, what are some interesting trends or practices you've noticed in global bar culture that India could benefit from? So very nice question. Interesting trends or practices that we can benefit from definitely is talking about their local products. Like today in India, we don't really scream and shout and say Imli is the best. We don't talk about curry leaf as much as we should. But globally, if these guys, like say a partner in Europe find some variant of a grape tends to in the same time, he will talk about it to 100 people and he will use it everywhere he can because he's not ashamed of it. I don't know why Indians have this thing that local is not nice. Right? It's been drilled into us by these companies who want to make more money from us. But local is always better. Local is always will and always be better. Like a curry leaf that you have, and even if you give anyone abroad this curry leaf, if you suppose you make a curry leaf dish and you give it to them abroad, they will be mind blown. Or they will be actually interested to see what's happening. So I think that's something that we can learn from and we should learn from. Right? Talk about your local things very proudly. What is India known for? If you guys have heard of Rameshwaram Cafe, if you're from Bangalore, you would have heard of it. It's something which is doing this, right? It's understanding that how proud an American is of McDonald's. Why? It's just a fast food burger joint. But they are like, McDonald's is the best, Starbucks is the best. And we will start saying the same thing because they are saying it. So like that culture, I think that trend we should take. And Rameshwaram Cafe is one example which is doing it, right? They are saying we are going to be the best idli dosa chain in the world, not in Bangalore, not in India, in the world, and they are making it look cool. So earlier when kids would go and get McDonald's, now they're going and getting idli dosa. The same kids because they made it look cool. Taste is very subjective, right? But they look for that. So I think that's something we should definitely learn from. I hope I answered Sunil. Shreya has asked, could you share a bit more about your work as a brand community manager now, and how do you apply your bartending experience in this role? Yeah, so like I said, right, I have a lot of insights. I'm very well connected to the bar industry even today. Like I know pretty much all the bars in Bangalore, who's running it, how are they running it, who's the bartender, who's the bar manager, and I come up with cocktail recipes for them. I come up with menus for them. I help them understand how to bring down their cost sometimes because now I know from a brand perspective as well, and now I know from a bar perspective. So that's something which is very unique, luckily to me, and that's what helped me grow very fast in the company also. Like initially, I started off as a brand ambassador, which is basically the marketing team will go tell you, yeah, event hai, you go do the event. Event means make cocktails, serve people, and come back home. It was nice. It was paying. Always companies pay really well in brands, but I was like, dude, somebody's telling me every day what I'm supposed to do. I'm not thinking on my own. So it's nice, but once I got confidence that I can create my own work, so I asked for a. I basically carved this position. This role does not exist in every company. Brand commitment doesn't mean anything. But I carved it a role saying community is very important for any brand. Whether you're selling tea, you're selling shoes, whatever it is. Your community is your first 500 fans, super fans is what they call it. Very important. So for a brand like Greater Than, which is a very popular brand among the bars because they use it for all their cocktails, I wanted to build that community. So I said I want to be the brand community manager. I only asked for it and they gave it to me as a pilot, saying 2 months, let's see what you want. You do whatever you want. No daily reporting, nothing. 2 months you're getting salary, but you do whatever you want. After 2 months, we'll see what you want to do. There it kind of really the change came in where I was like, I'm talking to bars and they are picking up stock like there's no tomorrow. Everyone is drinking Greater Than in Bangalore because I was always, going and doing events, talking to people, talking about the brand. And generally, the product itself is so great. My work became easy. Price point was fantastic. My work became easy. I had freedom. My work became easy. So that's how I used my leverage as a bartender to kind of become a community manager. And I still bartend. Like I still do what I love when I want to do it. Now nobody tells me, "Hey, aaj ye karo," but if I want to do it, I can plan an event. I can go bartend. No one will stop me. In fact, it will in fact help the company. So yeah, Varis, what's your creative process when it comes to inventing new cocktails or designing a new bar menu? Man, don't quote me on this, but AI is doing as good a job as I can. It's so shocking. I got a brief. I'll give you an example. I got a brief for a bar in Bangalore, which is opening. It's a tiki kind of bar. Tiki basically means very fruity, very colorful drinks. They gave me a brief saying we want a menu, cocktail menu for this. This is the brief, the exact brief they sent me with pictures and everything, explaining the bar, explaining the vibe, explaining the pricing, the strategy, everything. And I started thinking, okay, what cocktails will I do? And I started writing those cocktails down. And so I just think of food, right? So my biggest inspiration is food. Like what works in food will work in drink. End of the day, it's going to the same place, your mouth. So suppose, say, a dish like, say, pasta, right? Tomato and cheese goes well together. So can I, in some way, replicate that tomato and cheese into a drink? I know it'll taste good. People will be like, "What the hell, cheese in a drink?" But I know it'll taste good. So can I use some new techniques to remove the fat from the cheese, make it silky? So creative process definitely is food is a big inspiration. Colors in general are a big inspiration because I think what you see, in fact, is what sells you, right? जो दिखता है वो दिखता is very true. So when you see a drink going by and you crave it, even if it's not matching your taste profile, you will like it. So I work a lot on visual appeal of any food or drink that I come up with. So I did this entire research. I spent about 2 days. I made this menu for this new bar. And my wife was just like talking about AI every day, right? She was just hammer because she works in social media and she does in the creative process. She uses it quite a bit. She's like, why don't you try using ChatGPT? Because you spend, and I didn't do anything for the student, right? And for me, if I get into something, I go completely into it, and I don't look at anything else. So she got very irritated, saying you're not even like focusing. We're watching a show, but I'm still thinking of that. I'm eating food, I'm still thinking of that. So she's like, why don't you use AI to help you? You'll not believe I put the exact same description, like what they had given me into ChatGPT. I obviously learned how to prompt it from YouTube, and I gave it to it, and it gave me very similar cocktails. So now I'm scared. It gave me very, very similar cocktails what I had thought of. And it gave me some of the names that it gave me were even better because obviously his dictionary, that the app's dictionary is the whole world dictionary. My dictionary is what I've learned through some books. So it really shocked me. So I don't think, I think creative process will get enabled a lot more. But one thing that I felt is if everybody gives the same prompt, everybody will give the same answer. So that bar, if they had done that, they would have got that. So I'm just trying to get better at beat. I'm not trying to beat me. I'm not trying to beat my other brands. I'm trying to beat AI because I'm like, can I give something to these guys that they cannot find anywhere online? So I'm going more into R&D, more into wacky cocktails, most unheard of ingredients because that's the only way I'll be able to beat an AI. So which all of you have to also either make it your best friend and use it to your best ability because it is going to be the next Google. It already is to some extent, or you need to like push yourself to be like I know how to use it, but I'm going to beat it. You can beat it. It's not impossible. And if you beat it, you're like untouchable, right? Again, you're irreplaceable. So yeah, I hope I answered that. What advice do you have for young professionals looking to break into the beverage industry, particularly in unique roles like yours? Um, I think firstly, skill is something that you have to have because we've seen a lot of people who have gotten into beverage industry because of their social media presence and because of their, they talk a lot. And like I said, show your work. But I keep saying show your work, not just show other people's work. Don't copy paste and randomly do it, which has happened in our industry a lot. And they've entered the industry, they've done well for the first 3 months. But then if you don't have skill, people can easily catch you. People can easily be like, he doesn't know what he's talking about, or she doesn't know what she's doing. So first and most important is build your skill, right? If you want to be a bartender, learn bartending. If you want to be a chef or pastry chef, learn the art of making pastries. So that is the most basic important thing I would say. Learn bartending if you want to be something a role like me. Just learn bartending seriously for a good 2 3 months wherever the course is available, and don't just do the course for the sake of doing it. Really get into it. Once you have your skill set ready, then you get into promotion. Then you get into talking about yourself. Then you get into like I want, and then figuring out what you want to do. Suppose you, because I would have never thought of this role in my life, but because I kept doing what I knew and I kept building my skills, like for me to learn about AI today is not required. I don't need to learn about it. But I know if I learn about AI and if I, try and get competitive with it, if I start beating it, I will be at a skill set which a lot of people are not, will never reach there because I started so early. So learn the skill first and then, uh, you know, get into self promotion and all of that because it's very easy to catch somebody who's empty inside. And if you don't know what you're talking about, people will catch you. It's very, very easy to get caught in the beverage industry specifically. And so, but once you learn your skills, you have to be the best, social media person. You have to be the best networking magnet. You have because that's the fastest way to grow in beverage industry. Beverage industry is very small. The number of people controlling it are probably 500,000 people. So if you get into it and you can influence all those 500 people, you will kill it. You will really scale very very fast. Awesome. Any
So I
questions?
guess with that, it brings us to the end of this session. And thank you, Vedant, for joining us here and enlightening us on this topic of bartending and beverages and everything.